feeling running behind schedule, like it's never enough, getting sick the first few days of vacation, feeling depleted, decision fatigue. Take small steps every day to regenerate.
Well, Dr. Ioana, you have so much to share, and I really appreciate the fact you took the time today to be with us. We hear the term burnout so often today. What does burnout look like, and what are some of those early signs that
Mm,
sometimes go unnoticed?
Such a great question. Father Chris, I burned out twice. And it's not because of a lack of skills. I mean, hello, I'm in the field,
Right.
right? And I still burn out because those signs are so subtle. So can you imagine how much more we are at risk of burnout if we're not even in the profession? So the what happens, Father Chris, the burnout initially happen almost like an occupational problem. So it is in the ICD, in the International Code of Diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis per se, it's not a disease, but it is a syndrome, and many times have been linked to occupation. And especially after COVID, now everyone talks about burnout, right? There's something about that, but it is, and it is true. There's a sense of chronic stress, and the signs in the beginning are subtle. So here's what I wanted to share, and maybe many times people don't know this, especially in the Christian circle. On a body level, the body gets in when it gets into stress. We go into three phases. I'm not going to go into a big exposition of this. I've done retreats for a day, Father Chris, but just really quickly, it's important for the audience to really know this. At the beginning, we go into the acute phase, alarm, stress, and we know it. Oh, I'm stressed, and we feel like we have to push. But then, if we continue to push, we go into what's called the resistance phase. This is what I like to call the hidden burnout, because we don't know the symptoms then. What happens, all of a sudden, we feel better. We feel like we got it. We can handle 20 balls in the air. The reality is, though, the body is moving into this resistant phase, is mobilizing stress hormones, which is not our natural phase. This is meant by God to be just short term. God created us very wisely, but we don't want to override his laws.
Right.
Many times we do. And when we get into this phase, the chronic stress hormones are, so to speak, eating our natural resources. So we
Mm.
go into the deficit, so to speak, but we don't feel that. By the time we feel it, by the time we're in exhaustion phase, by the time I was in the exhaustion phase, it was too late. That is the when we have clear signs of being super tired. Chronic stress could be mental health issues, medical issues, like sudden chronic pain problems or decreased immunity. So it's hard to know the signs in the middle, in that hidden burnout, but this is what I've collected through myself and working with so many people, countless of people. There are subtle, so there are feel kind of like this feeling running behind schedule, like it's never enough. Getting sick the first few days of vacation.
Mm.
We're waiting for that vacation or retreat. We go to a monastery and all of a sudden we get sick and we get all the colds and it's kind of spoils the whole thing. That's because the immunity is low.
Okay.
Feeling like we don't want to come back from vacation or retreats. We have the Sunday night blues, or we have difficulty relaxing, feeling depleted, decision fatigue, even a sense of inner blocks to the sense of peace and prayerfulness. Like we feel like our prayers are dry, like there's nothing happens. We just go through them and we don't feel that presence of God. We might even experience confusion about life directions, or engaging into things like daydreaming, watching mindless show, overeating, over drinking, addictions, big or small. So those are the things to really watch for, to be an alarm and like, oh, I might be in this phase, and this is the phase where we need to stop regenerating today, not tomorrow.
Okay. Well, those are very good points, and maybe some people haven't even heard them before, so I think it's great. Dr. Ioana, you talk about the importance of sustainable habits. That's what you mentioned.
Mhm,
What are
mhm.
a few changes that you've seen make a big difference in people's lives, especially for those who are in a demanding church or a family responsibility?
In terms of what habits can have the biggest impact?
Yes.
Yeah, such a great question, Father Chris. I mean, we all know people in the world doing self-care, and they set aside, oh, I want to do an hour exercise, an hour to meditate, or this or that. we don't have time for this. We want to serve. So in my blueprint, and this is what I've tried and what helped me in the past and helps me now not to get into burnout, is to take small steps every day to regenerate in the now. I think that one of the biggest mistakes is we are so habitually putting in the future the
Mhm.
self-care. Oh, I'll regenerate. I'll take care of myself in the weekend. Or I'll just wait for vacation. Or I'll just go to the retreat, to the monastery, which is wonderful. But what happens is we get into that hidden burnout, as I mentioned
Yeah.
before. And tomorrow never comes, really, existentially, right? It's in our
Mhm.
consciousness. It's always a now moment. So regenerating now, I think the second biggest thing is to always think of taking small steps, so small that we cannot fail. And it's important because many times we get discouraged. We feel like, yes, I'm going to regenerate, I'm going to do big chunks of time. And then we fall off the wagon, so to speak. And then we feel like on a roller coaster. And I've discovered early on with exercise, I cannot say no to 10 minutes of exercise. So find what's your minimal amount of time that you cannot say no to.
Right.
I mean, in my brain, I can say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to exercise or do this for that long." No, what's a minimal and do it. Actually, medical research is showing that even 10 minutes of daily exercise, it's so impactful for
Really.
many medical conditions. So, rhythm, at least 4 times a day, small steps that you cannot fail. Find out what's your minimal amount of time that there's no excuse.
Right.
And then just do it every day. And think about when you get discouraged, you may say, well, I'm not sure if this is really helpful because I don't see any changes. Well, think about compound interest,
Right.
financial
Over time.
interest.
Over time.
Over time, it really grows. It takes several months, but as we do it consistently, the first step is really we're training our subconscious, so to speak. We're training the faithful servant that is humming behind the background, that is taking care of our habits. We don't have to think about brushing our teeth or where we're driving, right? Those all become automatic. So when we do this over a few months, they become automatic and it's going to be easier. And don't focus on the content as much. That's my last tip here, because if I'm going to say I'm always going to walk or I'm all outside or I'm always going to go to the gym, what if you don't have time? What if it's raining? Like find a variation, you know what I mean? Don't focus too much on the time on the content, but on the time and the frequency and rhythm.